to provide support to other people of color who are looking for resources. They've been doing this now for more than 5 years. Last August, they were sued by an organization called the American Alliance for Equal Rights. If you've never heard of it, there's a reason, because they're new. And their goal is to eradicate all laws and policies that support race-based programs. Edward Blum is the person who runs that organization. They sued the Fearless Fund and the Fearless Foundation, ostensibly for violating federal law. Their theory is that if you provide grants and resources to women of color and black women specifically, you violate a statute that was passed after Reconstruction in 1866. And this statute was passed to allow black people to enter into contracts. Remember, before the Civil War, we were considered property. We couldn't enter into contracts. We couldn't own property. Couldn't get an education. So this statute was passed, it's called 1981 of the Civil Rights Act. And this statute was passed to ostensibly close this gap. So now these women have been sued, and we are representing them along with Gibson Dunn and a few other lawyers. And they filed a complaint as well as a preliminary injunction motion. And we were successful in defeating the preliminary injunction motion at the district court on several grounds, which I'll allow my colleague to go into. And then they filed an appeal. And the appeal went up to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, and on Monday, a decision was issued, essentially saying that this organization that has now sued the Fearless Foundation has standing, for the non-lawyers in the room, has a right to bring a case before the court. And second, that they have shown a likelihood of success on the merits. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about what this decision means on the panel, but I want to give you my personal context and why it's important to all of us in this room. This decision is not just about whether black people can issue grants to other black people. This is about whether or not we live in a free enterprise economy. This is about whether or not we are creating an infrastructure for economic opportunity for all. Because as we all know, charitable organizations have existed for decades. And charitable organizations have been allocating resources and funding to specific demographic groups for decades. So why is it now that a black-owned company that is providing those resources to black people can no longer do that because it's deemed unconstitutional, is deemed against the law? We're going to talk about this and many other issues. The title of this panel is Creating a Roadmap, or a Roadmap for Creating Economic Opportunity for All. And this decision fits squarely within the parameters of this discussion. Because as we fight for economic opportunity for all need to recognize that we're not fighting for any one demographic group. We're fighting essentially for freedom. We're fighting for the ability to operate in a capitalist country, in a capitalist construct, without the limitations that are now being assigned to certain groups of people. And to have this conversation, I'm going to invite to the stage Janice Bodler,